Today we're going to talk about Tenax, the features and benefits, and how you mix and use this product with natural stone. Before we get into Tenax, let's talk about the different finishes of natural stone. Today I have 4 examples of travertine and the different finishes. Let's start off with tumbled. A characteristic of tumbled stone is you're going to see rounded edges. Okay? That means sometimes you're going to have larger grout pockets on the corners. How they achieve the tumbled finish is they actually put the stone in a big tumble machine and they add sand and a light acid. They tumble it so you get those rounded edges. In most cases, tumbled stone comes unfilled, meaning you're going to see pocks and open holes on the stone. You can easily fill it with grout or Tenax in the future. The next finish I'm going to talk about is called brushed. Brush, we like to say, is an old world finish. It has that orange peel texture. When you rub your hand on it, you'll feel a slight bumpy texture to it. How they achieve a brushed finish is they have giant drums with wire bristles, and they go over the stone at a high speed, and those wire bristles will actually achieve that brushed finish. All right, you can get brushed and filled and unfilled depending on the stone we're carrying. This one looks like it was filled with the grout. So look at the board and you will notice if it's the grout or a different filler that they used at the factory. The next one we're going to talk about is honed. Honed is a very smooth finish. And what they do is they take polishing wheels, but it's not polished. They go over the actual finish, I would say at a high rate of speed for a smaller period of time than to achieve a polished finish. Very smooth, very easy to maintain. Not quite polished, but you'll see here it's filled. They fill it at the factory. Now you can get honed finish unfilled, but a lot of people will just fill it with their grout depending on the situation. As you can see, the polished tile, or stone in this case, reflects light. What that means is they use a higher grit polishing pad. When they go over it for a longer period of time, it achieves the polished finish. 99% of the time, polished tile or stone comes filled. All right, so you don't really have too many unfilled tiles in the polish, but it does happen here or there, and you can, again, use Tenax. But remember, when filling a polished stone, the filler is going to be a matte finish. If it's filled at the factory and then polished, the fill will actually have a polished finish. All right, let's talk about filler. Filler is resin and sometimes has an epoxy element to it depending on which factory is making it. But most of the time it's a resin that is squeezed into the stone, usually on the front side, and then they hone it or brush it or polish it. But as you notice, when you turn the tile around, you'll see only a few parts did the filler go all the way through the tile. What we want to make sure is that we're back buttering the tile with thin set. You're going to have thin set on your trowel, and you're just going to back butter the whole tile. What that's going to do is strengthen the actual tile. It's going to fill all the pocks or voids in the stone, allowing it to a more sturdy presence on the floor. You're not going to get filler that pops when we have back buttered it and filled it with thin set. Okay? Now a back butter is just where you rake the thin set on the back. What we want to do is take the flat side of the trowel and fill the voids. Okay? Then we'll come back and use the notch side of the trowel and actually rake thin set. And that's really called back buttering. All right. Now in this case here, we have some filler that was placed here, 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 here throughout the actual stone. When you turn it around, you can see where the filler came through here, but not here. That's why you can never assume that the actual stone itself has been filled all the way through. So always back butter and backfill your stone before installation. All right, in this example, I'm going to be filling this honed travertine. I'm going to fill half the stone, okay? When mixing Tenax, what we want to do is make sure we have a paper plate, a plastic spoon or something to scoop the Tenax out and mix it with, and a straight razor. I'm also going to be using the flat side of my trowel to squeeze it in. Not too hard, you don't want to scratch the actual stone. So, I usually mix in small batches, all right? So what you're going to want to do is take a plastic spoon full of your Tenax, get it on a paper plate. Okay. Now, you have to make sure you only use 10% of the hardener per the filler. So I even use less. You usually have about 4 to 5 minutes before it starts hardening up. Don't mix too much or add too much hardener where it's going to harden on your plate and you can't use it on the stone. So as you can see here, I'm going to add just a little bit to the actual filler. Now we're just going to mix it. So once you think you have the hardener mixed throughout the actual Tenax, what we can do now is start to transfer the mixture onto the stone. So what I'm going to do is scoop some up, put it where I have some holes. Might need a little bit more over here. Now we can start using you can use a margin trowel or a regular trowel and start filling in those holes. You can see where it takes the appearance of a filled stone straight from a factory. And make sure we go both directions so it fills the entire void. You want to get off as much of the excess as possible. So I'm going to need a little bit more on the edge there. Making sure to fill any bubbles you see appear. And for this demonstration, I think that'd be good. Now is where I usually take the straight razor and just go ahead and clean up any area. Don't go over all the voids quite yet. We want to give that time to harden up. We want to get some of the excess Tenax off the stone so it's just less to clean up when it hardens. And we're going to give it 3 to 4 minutes. We'll come back and I'll show you how to scrape excess off and then you're good. Now that we've waited 4 or 5 minutes, it's time to take our straight razor and go off and scrape off any excess Tenax off the stone. So what we want to do is go at an angle and just slowly slide your razor blade over the area that you just filled. And what you're going to do is you're going to see all this excess. It's going to come off on the razor. We want a smooth finish on the actual stone when we're done doing the Tenax. Now you can see how we filled the pocks and this side's still unfilled. This should last as long as the floor is installed. Tenax is a very hard resin after you mix the hardener with it. And it's easy as that. We're done. Another good use for Tenax is when you're working with a natural stone sink. On the underside of the sink, you're going to see a lot of pocks. You can see that this sink has already been filled. Sometimes they come and they're not filled from the factory. All we have to do is mix up a small batch of our Tenax, take a trowel, and just backfill it. We don't really have to worry about scraping it as smooth as you can because this is actually going to never be seen. It's on a countertop. It's the underside of the actual sink itself. But what we want to avoid is having any open pocks that go through to the front, allowing water to get all the way through. That's why we're going to start using Tenax on the backside of our K100s and other natural stone sinks. It's important that we use Tenax to fill these holes because when you install a sink like this, we're actually going to put a bead of silicone and then mount it to the actual vanity top. Once this is done, it's going to be very difficult to pull back up and take all the plumbing off to fill these holes. So you want to make sure these are filled prior to installation. I'd also recommend after you've put Tenax on the backside of the sink, take a coat of our premium gold sealer and just give the whole sink a nice coating of our sealer, just giving it that extra protection.